Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. I wanted to come on here and spend some time with y'all this morning. It is 9:19 a.m. in the morning Central Time. I pray that you're having a wonderful, blessed day. There goes the notification. I like to watch for the notification. So if you're new on my channel, welcome. I pray that you have a blessed day. My name is Marley. You're watching Marley's Inspiration. Today's video is going to be a little different, everyone, because I'm going to talk about something that happened 2 years ago. And you're probably thinking, if you've been on my channel long enough, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. You know exactly what I'm going to talk about because you've been on my channel for 2 years and you know exactly what happened 2 years ago. I just want to give a testimony to God. That's what this live is about. It's my testimony. I've already posted it on Facebook. Limited details. I didn't put everything. I did not put everything, but I do want to come on here and share with y'all, my family, just how good God is. Like, He is wonderful. He is a wonderful God. And I'm going to turn the comments off. So if y'all start commenting and I don't answer, I do apologize. But I want to be able to focus on talking because I've noticed if y'all come in and I see you and you start talking to me, sorry. If you come in and you start talking to me, I've noticed that I get sidetracked. So I want to go ahead and do this. And whenever I finish, then I'll greet you. So 2 years ago today, actually last night, 2 years ago last night at 7 p.m. last night, 2 years ago, I was hospitalized for 3 days, 4 days. It was 4 days. I was hospitalized for 4 days. What happened is I was sick and I had been sick since I think it was October 2020. In October 2020, I had some things that happened and it caused how I felt in the hospital. That's what I'm going to say. Um, so basically, this is my testimony of 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I remember sitting in the tub and feeling like I lost consciousness. It was not a pretty sight. Um, the Lord told me if I don't get out of this tub, I'm going to drown. So I grabbed the towel and I went in my room and I hollered for my husband at the time. And he was playing video games. He said, "What?" That was his exact words. "What?" I said, "I need you." And he got aggravated, but he came in the bedroom anyways. He told me when he came in the bedroom, he saw me laying on the bed. My face was pale white, white as a sheet of ghost. My lips were purple. He told me that he knew that something was wrong with me because I was laying there lifeless. And I told him with every breath in me, because I'm telling you, it took a lot of breath for me to tell him to call the ambulance. Well, he called the ambulance and they came and they saw me and they put me in the ambulance immediately. I went in the ambulance alone to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, they took me in the back. The nurse came in. They had already done a blood match on the way to the hospital. The nurse came in and she said that I'm going to need an emergency blood transfusion. So that began my journey. They put a red bracelet on my wrist and told me that they were going to go ahead and admit me because I was so low on blood that, they were surprised that I was even still conscious. Then then my husband at the time came in and he was complaining because he had to come to the hospital. And he was only there for an hour. When he found out that I was going to be admitted, he went home. I spent 4 days alone in the hospital. When they came in and told me that my hemoglobin had dropped from an 8 to a 5 within 24 hours and that I needed an emergency blood transfusion to survive, I became afraid. I'm going to tell you the truth. This is my testimony. I became afraid. I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night, and I felt alone. I went and had the emergency blood transfusion. I was admitted. They told me lupus. They said that I have lupus because of the butterfly rash on my face. That was the first time that a doctor ever spoke lupus over me. So, as I'm laying in the hospital bed alone, because my soon to be ex husband wanted to play video games at home. It was 4th of July weekend, so he had a weekend that he could be home and play video games, and I was alone in the hospital. Um y'all forgive me. This is like so hard to talk about because it will make me cry because it still affects me to this day. I was alone in the hospital for 4 days. My sister was in Florida, so she was not able to make it to be with me in the hospital. I had no friends to come and visit me. I had my mom, she was not able to come and visit me. So, in that 4 days that I spent alone in the hospital, I did post videos here on YouTube. If you've been on my channel long enough, you know that. You know how weak I was. You know everything that I went through. Whenever that 4 days was over, I was able to go home on July 4th, 2021. My mom said as soon as I get home to let her know, and I did. She made me a big pot. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna start crying because I'm talking about my mom. She made me a big pot of soup, and she said that this would make me feel better. And honestly, y'all, even when I was out of the hospital, I still felt alone. I felt there's got to be more to a marriage than this. Because most people, their husbands are going to stay in the hospital with them. They're going to support them. They're going to take care of them. I didn't have that. When I went home from the hospital, I still felt alone. It took me, I think, 2 weeks to go back on YouTube or to come back on YouTube. 2 weeks. Because honestly, I was confused. I didn't understand why I had to go through that. I was thinking, Lord, why am I going through this? Like, what is going on? What is wrong with my health? Why do I have to go through this? And it was in that moment that I realized, why am I questioning God? I need to trust in him. He has plans for me, and I need to trust in his plans. So in that moment he gave me peace. It was a month later after that my mom went in the hospital, and she was hospitalized for I think it was 4 days as well. And she went in the hospital, I believe it was August the 15th, 2021. She passed away the 19th of August, 2021. So whenever my mom went in the hospital, I'm sorry if y'all hear that TV, y'all, because I'm right next to my friend's grandson's room. So if you hear the TV, I'm sorry. But I'm going to go ahead and continue with this testimony. So, once my mom went in the hospital and we found out that, she wasn't going to be with us too much longer. Listen, y'all, when you have to hear that your mom is in the hospital and you're not able to visit her because of a pandemic, it really, truly breaks you down because I called her several times a day for 4 days and I could not reach her. And it was so hard because I was getting updates like every 2 to 3 hours about my mom. And then finally, the word came that she was going home. And I was like, yes, I get to see my mom. I get to see my mom. But nothing prepared me for going to my mom's house and seeing her laying in the hospital bed. And I was talking to her, and she said, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go home. That's what she was saying to me. Well, I gave her a hug, and she went on hospice. And I slowly watched. I'm sorry, y'all. This is. Oh, pray for me to have strength to get through this. I slowly watched as my mom was losing her, like, she was literally leaving this world. And it was so hard on me that I could not stay and watch her take her last breath. So I went home and I waited on word. The next morning, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I received a phone call that my mom had passed away. So we went to my mom's house. My brother, he was already on his way here because, of course, when he found out that she was on hospice, he came. So he came from Florida. My sister came from, like, I think she was 45 minutes away. And I'll never forget stepping foot inside my mom's home and seeing her. She had already left the world. And this is not in a casket. This is literally in her home. When my brother got there, all of us kids went in and we gathered around her. And we said our goodbyes to her. The funeral director came and got her and took her to the funeral home. And then came the feet of the funeral. Now you may be asking, Marley, why are you going back over your mom's um passing away? I want you to see something, okay? Because when we went to the funeral home to select her casket, and her music and her pictures and everything that was going to play during the service. My family decided that we were going to get together. We were going to go to my sister's and we were going to spend time together. Well, we did. We were on the way to go to my sister's. And my husband at the time said he didn't want to go, said he wanted to play video games. So instead of going and spending time with my family when my mom passed away, I was at home by myself alone. I felt alone because my husband was playing video games while everybody else was gathering and mourning my mother. So I went through my mom's passing alone. He was in the funeral with us. He was a pallbearer, but he still made me feel alone. He still made me feel alone because from the moment that we went in the procession to bury my mother to the moment after on the way home, I felt alone. And I just began seeking God, y'all. Like, I was like, Lord, there's got to be more to a marriage than this. There's got to be more because every single person that I know, their husband supported them through their parents' death. Their husband supported them if they went in the hospital. They were never left in the hospital alone. And I just began seeking the Lord about my marriage, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I did. I began seeking Him. I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. It's been like this for 7 years. At the time, it was 7 years. The next month after my mom passed away, and I'm just going to share some things with you that I've never shared with you because this is a part of my testimony because I want you to understand exactly what happened during the time that I was with my husband because I'm about to share a testimony with you, and this is a part of my testimony. So, a month later, after my mom passed away, I was checking my email, and my email and my husband's email happened to be connected. That's how he had it. That's how he had it. He had our emails connected, so we could see each other's email. And I went to check my email, and he had an email from, which I know y'all know what Tinder is, but he had an email from Tinder. And in this email, it stated that he had matches and that he had messages. He had just left. He claimed that he was going to ride bikes with his friend. But the fact that I seen this, that was confirmation in itself from God that he was committing adultery during our marriage. So the Lord also gave me a dream, and he was showing me that he was messaging other females. And I even saw the name of one of the females, and I confronted him about it the next day. And his eyes were really big. He could not believe that I was saying that name. And I was thinking, let me tell you something, okay? You cannot lie to a child of God because God will either show it to you in a dream, a vision, He will send people to tell you about it, or he will tell you about it audibly with his voice, because he does not stand for his children to be lied to. And that's exactly what happened. The Lord revealed to me that I was being lied to. Anytime my husband lied to me, I knew it, because the spirit within me was telling me that I was being lied to, because the Lord gave me discernment to be able to tell the difference between a lie and the truth. And I was lied to a lot. Okay, so, and y'all just bear with me because this is taking a lot, but this is cleansing for me. This is why I'm doing it, because when you give your testimony, it's cleansing for you. It helps you. And I know it's going to help someone else that could be possibly be in the situation that I was in. And I know I've never talked about this before on this channel, so there's a lot that you do not know. You know that I'm going through a divorce. You know that. But you don't know what's leading up to the divorce. So this is why I'm on here telling you this, so that you can see exactly what happened and you can understand exactly where I'm coming from. Okay. So in that moment, I confronted my husband and I asked him about it, and he came straight home. And he was telling me, he was trying to put it on me. He was trying to tell me that it was my fault. Hey, Wendy, God bless you. Thank you so much, sister. He was trying to tell me that it was my fault. You know, he was trying to make me think that I was crazy for being concerned about the Tinder. He said he did not have a Tinder, even though I was able to check on his iPad and see that it was downloaded on his phone. So, once I saw the Tinder messages, I checked his iPhone. I was able to check on the iPad and see he did have that downloaded on his phone. And it gets worse, y'all. So he came home, and I was thinking, I don't want to fight with him over this. I'm a peaceful person. When I'm in a relationship, I do everything I can to make that relationship work, to make that marriage work. I forgive more times than I should in the marriage, but that's neither here or there. So I forgave him. I gave him another chance. And I told him that I forgive him. Well, it was a month later that once again I was able to check my email. He did not learn his lesson about me not being able to see his email. So I was checking my email and I saw where he had paid $30 for Tinder Gold. And you may ask, if you don't know what Tinder is a hookup site. For anybody that doesn't know what Tinder is, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Tinder is. So when I saw this, my heart dropped. And I was contacting my friends, my close friends that I knew that I could talk to, that I knew I could trust. And it was in this moment that one of my friends, she said, "Sister, I'm about to pray something. And I want you to be prepared for what happens next." Usually, when I pray this, she said to me, either the marriage falls apart or there's reconciliation. So I told her, I said, "I trust you. Yes, let's pray. Because I need to know if I'm in God's will." So we prayed. And it wasn't too long after that um, I caught him on TikTok, because he decided to download TikTok. And I caught him on TikTok talking to other females in his inbox. He was liking other females' videos. And I left. I went to my sister's for 3 days. While I was gone, he was calling me, apologizing, saying it'll never happen again, that he realized he made a mistake. And YouTube did not know about this. Y'all did not know that I was separated from my husband in 2021. Y'all did not know. I did not tell you. A few of my YouTube friends did know that I talked to, but other than that, y'all did not know. So I was at my sister's for 3 days. And while I was at my sister's, he was constantly calling me, asking me to come back. So on the third day, I said, okay. I said, I'll forgive you and I will come back. And he called me, and my sister was sitting on her bed. I was sitting in my sister's room. And he wanted to use the gift card that we got for my birthday to go out to eat. And so I said, okay, yes, we can do that. And the next thing he said, it really upset my sister. You know that I have a butterfly rash, everyone. So just pay attention, okay? He told me, he said, well, if we're going anywhere, you need to put makeup on because I don't want to go anywhere with you if you're not wearing makeup, because he was ashamed of the rash on my face. Now, let me stop there and tell you, for 8 years of this relationship slash marriage, he put me down every single day. Every single day. But I said that I loved him, so I forgave him every single day. Every time he put me down. Sorry. Every time that he put me down, I forgave him. Every single time. What you saw on YouTube, it was, it may have looked perfect, but let me tell you something. When it comes to a marriage, there's nothing perfect about a marriage. You're going to have your arguments. You're going to have your fights. You're going to have your good times. You're going to have your bad times. But what I was going through was neither here nor there, because what I was going through was forgiveness on a multiple daily basis. He would say things, he would raise his voice, and he would make me feel bad about myself. And I'm just being honest, y'all. I'm just being honest. So whenever he said that to me, my sister heard it. And she was like, "Do you really want to go back?" And I was like, "Well, I want to give him another chance because, like you, I believe in the sanctity of marriage. And I did not want to see my marriage fall apart. So I gave him another chance. I put makeup on my face. We went and ate. And we went back to our house. Everything was good for the first week. And then after that, he went back to the same behavior that he was doing to start with. And we ended up moving in with my sister because he started a job with my brother-in-law in in April of last year, April of 2022. So we ended up moving in with my sister. And while we were at my sister's, the only time he argued with me was in our room. He did not want anyone to see me arguing with him. So he would put me down daily, on a daily basis. If he didn't like the clothes that I was wearing, go change your clothes, go put this on. No, you need to wear these shoes, or you need to fix your makeup. Or if I wore makeup, he was constantly checking my face to make sure it was perfect. Like, I had to be perfect in this marriage, y'all. It felt like I was living with the devil, okay? Throughout this time, I was still coming on YouTube. I was still giving you the words the Lord gave me. I was still sharing with you the things that God wanted me to share with you. I was still spending time with you. when all along behind closed doors, I was dealing with the worst. Honestly, it felt like it was horrible for me, y'all. It took a lot of strength for me to be able to sit on the camera and talk to you on a live stream or a video and not cry. Only my closest friends knew what was going on. So when time came, my husband came to me and he was crying. And I'm a supportive wife, I'm a submissive wife. When I'm with someone, I submit to my husband. And I was asking him, I was like, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Well, I'm not with my family. I want to move to North Carolina. I want us to move to North Carolina." And I said, "Okay, if that's what you really want to do, me being a supportive wife, I agreed to move with him." So we decided that we were going to move to North Carolina. I came on YouTube and told y'all that there was a change coming. And I even filmed videos that were on the way to North Carolina, which I still have those on my phone, by the way. Different videos of different places that we went through when we were moving. And whenever I got to North Carolina, it was a week later, the week of July 4th, as a matter of fact. It was July the 5th of last year. I had a miscarriage. And when I had that miscarriage, it was, it made my body weak, okay? Because I never went to the hospital. I dealt with this on my own. Thankfully, everything was able to come out without me having to have a DNC. I went through that alone, by the way. And then we went to his mom's. And the whole time I was at his mom's, I felt alone. I really did. And it was in this moment, and this is where the testimony starts, y'all. It was in this moment I was laying in my bed and I was asleep. And the Lord came to me in a dream, and I heard his voice audibly. And he said, "My daughter, when I create," I'm going to start crying again. Because when I woke up from this dream, I was crying, y'all. He said, "My daughter, when I created marriage for a when I created marriage, this is what I intended marriage to be." He said, "I intended for your husband to be your covering. I intended for your husband, whenever you're sick, for him to be able to lay hands on you and pray over you and see you healed. I intended for you to be able to worship together, to have time to come into my presence together. Because, my daughter, I see you as one flesh. When you marry someone, you become one flesh with that person. I intended for you to be able to go to church together, to go to the house of the Lord together, to be able to worship in church together, to be able to um multiple things that the Lord intended for us in our marriage. Look, he intended for our husbands to love us as Christ loved the church. That was what he intended for us. And when I woke up, I was crying. I said, "Lord, I don't have this. I don't have this." This was in July of 2022 last year. September of 2022. My husband decided he didn't want to be with me anymore, and y'all do not know this, so I'm about to share it with you. Except the prayer group knew, close friends knew. So you're about to learn something new, even if you've been on my channel since last year. My husband decided that he did not want to be married anymore, so he had his parents put me on a bus back to Mississippi. I had no form of communication with my family whatsoever. I did have my phone, but my phone was turned off because he did not pay the bill. He paid his bill, but he did not pay my bill. So, whenever they dropped me off in Charlotte, North Carolina on September 11th of last year, it was 10 a.m. I got on the bus at 2 p.m. that afternoon, and the bus was to take me to Atlanta, Georgia. Whenever, between Charlotte, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia, it was 6 hours. My sister became concerned because she could not hear from me. She had not heard from me in 6 hours. And you know, as a family, that you are going to become concerned if one of your loved ones disappears for 6 hours. So she was blowing up my husband's phone, asking him where I was. Because the last she knew, I was on a bus going home. Well, he acted like he was like, I don't know, she doesn't have a phone. And my sister told him this: it's obvious that you never cared about my sister, or you would have made sure that she had a phone on her. And when I got to Atlanta, it was 8 p.m. that night. Soon as we pulled up in the bus terminal, my phone hooked up to Wi-Fi, and my phone literally blew up with messages and notifications and everything from family trying to see where I was because they were concerned. When I got to Atlanta, I found out that my bus that was going to Birmingham had already left. So I was literally stranded in Atlanta for, I got there at 8. I left on the bus at 1 a.m. I was stranded in Atlanta until 1 a.m. that morning. They had to reroute my ticket because the bus to Birmingham, it had already left. So they rerouted me to Nashville. And if you know anything about taking a bus to Mississippi, Nashville is backtracking. It is backtracking. So I backtracked like 4 hours. I got on the bus at 1 a.m. that morning, the next morning. And whenever I got on the bus, I got to Nashville. It was like 4 a.m. I was supposed to get on the bus at 6 to go to Memphis, but they did not. The bus did not come till 9. So I had little to no sleep. I was in the bus station, little to no sleep, and the only thing I could do was communicate with my family, let them know I'm okay, and keep them updated while I was in the bus terminals in Atlanta, in Charlotte, and in Nashville. I stayed close to the security desk because I did not feel safe in these places. So once the bus came to get me from Nashville, it was 9 a.m. From 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., I was on a bus from Nashville to Memphis. We had multiple stops to make. That's why it took so long to get to Memphis. When we got to Memphis, my bus had already left that was going to Tupelo, Mississippi. That's where I was from. And so whenever I got to Memphis, they told me, they said, well, your bus has already left and we have no more buses until in the morning. Y'all, I was going to have to stay in Memphis by myself overnight, and the bus terminal in Memphis closes at 11. But you know what? God said, not my daughter. God said, not my daughter. He had them Uber me from Memphis to Tupelo. God would not allow me to stay in that place. I was already overcome with emotions. I was already going through so much at this point. So they Ubered me to Tupelo. I got in touch with one of my friends. I told her. She dropped everything she was doing and she met me at the bus station in Tupelo and she took me to my sister's. When I got to my sister's, I was so tired that I literally slept for 5 hours. And I slept even more that week because I was exhausted. My body was exhausted. I'd already been stressed out from everything that was spoken over me before I left, before my husband put me on a bus. Um, but I do want to say this. The prayer group on Telegram, I went in there to update them because they were always updated during this trip. When I went in there, they said, "Marley, check your PayPal. Check your PayPal, Marley." And I checked my PayPal and there was just enough to pay my phone bill to have it turned back on. And I still, to this day, I still tell them how thankful I am that they helped me turn my phone back on during this time. So I turned my phone back on, and my husband wanted to work things out. And I was like, okay, yes, because I don't want to go through a divorce. We can work things out. So while I was at my sister's, we were talking every day. He was cash apping me to get things that I needed. He was complaining about the cash apps, but still, he was cash apping me. Whenever I needed something, he would cash app me. And he was telling me that we were going to work things out. It was going to be okay, that we were going to work things out. And that we would be back together by Christmas of last year. And I believed him because I was fighting for my marriage, y'all. Well, it was the first week of October, and you know the situation about the person that was supposed to be my friend and how they got together. You already know that. All I'm going to say is whenever that happened, I was heartbroken because I was under the impression that we were going to get back together, that we were going to save our marriage. But no, he chose to be with a girl from Canada. So he moved to Canada. This is, y'all do not know this. I'm telling you everything because I want you to understand why I'm going through a divorce. Because there are so many people that are judgmental and they judge things they don't know, they judge things they don't understand. So I'm just being raw with y'all right now because I just feel led that I need to lay everything out on the table so that y'all can understand what I'm going through right now. So he moved to Canada. He's in Canada now. He paid for the divorce because he wants to get married so he can become a Canadian citizen. And every single day almost he has been messaging me asking me about the divorce if it's finalized. Well, here's something y'all don't know. Okay, so they mailed the divorce papers on May the 23rd. May the 25th, they came into the area where I live. The 26th, they were sent out to Kentucky. They were sent out to Kentucky. So from the 26th until the 15th of June, they were in transit. They got lost. They literally lost my divorce papers. So they got lost on the way to me. And I need to tell you this set because there's two different sets of divorce papers that are signed right now. There's the set that I signed in my attorney's office that my attorney let sit on his desk for 2 weeks. And then there's the set that my attorney emailed to him for him to take and sign and notarize. Okay. So he's been messaging me almost every day on Facebook asking me if everything is finalized yet. And they lost my divorce papers. And I trust God. I trust God. I was telling everybody, I trust God. I know He has this. I know He has this. Well, I went into prayer and the Lord gave me a vision. He gave me a vision of them going into the mail room, going over to the stack of mail, picking up the envelope and opening it and seeing it was my divorce papers and sending it to me. It even went as far as showing me finalized being stamped on the envelope or on the papers. So I knew that they were going to be delivered. I knew they were going to be delivered. So the day before yesterday, 2 days ago, I received a call and they were telling me that the only option that we had left was to have my attorney resend the papers. Well, I said, I trust God. I know God has this. I'm putting it in God's hands because He sees all the suffering I went through in that marriage. And God has already told me that I'm released from this marriage. He's already told me that He has closed this door. We just have to wait on the divorce to become finalized. So whenever the post office told me I had no other option but to have the papers remailed to me, I still said, I trust you, God. I trust you, God. I even spent time in worship and prayer. So if you've noticed that I've disappeared this week, it's because I've been seeking the Lord. I've been spending time with Him. I've been spending time in prayer, in worship. I've been spending time at His feet because I know He has me. I know that this divorce is in His will. I know it is because He's already told me that I'm released from this marriage. So, the day before yesterday, I received a delivery notice on my phone. It said that my package had been delivered. Y'all, my package was my divorce papers. They were delivered back to my attorney's office. Okay. So for 2 days, I tried to call my attorney and ask them, one, to confirm that my paperwork was delivered to them, and two, to see how they were going to get it to me. So I finally reached them yesterday, and they told me that since they already sent it to me and it was undeliverable, that I would have to go to Mississippi and sign the paperwork again. So the week after next, I'm going to Mississippi to sign the paperwork. I know God will work out the gas and everything. I'm not worried about that. It's the fact that the enemy has tried so hard to stop me from being able to be free from this marriage. Y'all, I have been under nonstop attack for a month. Whenever I disappeared from YouTube, it's because I was spending time with God, because I was seeking Him, because I needed help. I needed help. And that is when the Lord showed me, you have authority. I gave you authority. And that is when I stood up against the enemy and I took my authority and I stomped the devil on his head. Yes, I said it. I stomped him. I literally stood up in the natural, took my foot and stomped it on the devil's head. And I said, devil, you cannot have me. I am free, I am divorced, and I'm not about to allow you to control me or to control my future. And I took my future back from the devil. And that's what you have to do. You have to stand up to him because my marriage fell apart. He attacked my health. He attacked a lot. He attacked me a lot, y'all. Like, I've literally been under nonstop attack. So, whenever I come on here and I'm telling you that I've been through it, that I've been through spiritual warfare, and that the Lord has showed me exactly how to defeat the enemy, this is exactly how to defeat the enemy. You go into worship. You worship through it. You praise God through it. You stand on the word of God and you do not let the devil take your mind. And what I mean by that is don't allow him to put thoughts in your mind that you are not good enough. Don't allow him to put thoughts in your mind. And I'm going to start crying again. Y'all, this is a very emotional live, so I'm really raw with y'all because I just feel like God wanted me to come on here and share everything because you only know limited things. And I need to share this with you so that I can go through the healing process because that's what I'm doing right now. The Lord is taking me through a healing process. So I'm going to sign the divorce papers again for a second time. The attorney said that once I sign the divorce papers, he's going to take it straight to the judge's desk, and the judge is going to stamp finalized on it because it's well over the 60-day wait that we had for the divorce to be waited on. So once I sign the papers, I'm going to be divorced that day. Um, through the last 10 to 11 months, I've learned a lot about myself. I've had people that tried to have relationships with me, and I said no. I told them, I said, one, I'm still married and I'm not about to do that. Two, I'm not ready. And three, I only want to marry the one that God shows me. I went to prayer 3 months ago and I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I'm not getting married again unless you come to me and you show me this is who you're going to marry. And that's exactly what I told him. And he let me know that he would let me know because he wants me to experience a godly marriage. He wants me to experience a godly marriage. That's what the Lord told me. So right now, I'm going through healing in preparation for what he has for me. I want you to know that a lot of times when my camera is off, it's because I'm still going through the self confidence thing. And God gave me a song to listen to. Because when you've had spoken over you for 8 years that you're not good enough, when you've had spoken over you for 8 years that if you don't wear makeup, you don't look nice, that you need to wear makeup to be beautiful, when you've had that spoken over you for 8 years, it becomes a part of your thoughts. And that's what I'm going through right now, y'all. Sorry, I'm trying my best to get through this. I'm sorry, y'all. So the Lord is working on my self-confidence right now. So if you notice that my camera is off, it's because I'm going through that healing process. And I don't want y'all to see me crying, so that's why the camera is off. Because I already knew this was going to be a hard video. I already knew this was going to be a hard live. I already knew it. So when I tell you, that is why I am so strong in my faith right now, is because this is the biggest mountain that I've ever had to climb. This is the biggest humble pie that I've ever had to swallow. Because my marriage fell apart. I'm going through a divorce. My health has been attacked. I've had people try to come in my life that meant harm for me and not good. And the Lord showed me, and I was able to block them from my life. The Lord has brought new people into my life that I'm so thankful for each and every day. They are in other countries, and I'm so thankful for them. I'm thankful that they are there when I need them. So God literally took people out of my life that meant bad for me and replace them with people that meant good for me. And he has a future for me that is beyond my that is beyond my wildest dreams, because he's already showed me. I've already seen everything that he has for my future, because he showed me, because I was at the lowest point in my life, y'all. I was I was at rock bottom. And y'all know me. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to be honest with you, because my life is not perfect. And I don't want you to think that my life is perfect, because it's far from perfect. Being a Christian is not a bed of roses. And I tell you this all the time. Being a Christian is not a bed of roses. You go through trials, you go through tribulations, you go through spiritual warfare. Whenever you decide to live for God, whenever you decide to truly submit to Him, to surrender, you go through trials and tribulations. It helps build your faith, it helps build your patience. So when I tell you that I was not trying to portray a perfect life over the past 2.5 years that I've been on YouTube, 3 years, I was just sharing with you my daily life. I would come on here and share things with you that the Lord put on my heart. I would share dreams and visions and words that the Lord gave me. And whenever I was doing that, the enemy did not like it, because I was telling you things with boldness, without fear. When God told me to come on here, I came on here. And I was telling you, I was warning you, I was issuing the warnings, because listen, God told me 3 years ago. He took me in the book of Ezekiel. And I know you know what I'm talking about, because you know your word. In the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the watchman on the wall. And he told me, my daughter, when I give you a warning and you fail to warn my people, their blood is on your hands. And I take that very seriously. If I come on here and I tell you the Lord gave me a warning, I don't come on here under my own accord. I come on here under the unction of the Holy Spirit with fear and trembling, because I fear God. I reverence God. He is my everything. He is my rock. And I'm not going to say God showed me or told me something if He did not. So, whenever I tell you, over the past 8 years has been very hard for me, it really has, because I've done everything to make my marriage work. Everything. I prayed for my husband, as a wife should. Because if you are married and you are not praying for your husband, I beg you, start praying now. Because as wives, we are to pray over our husbands. And I did that. I prayed over my husband. I spoke life into my husband. But my marriage ended because it was not God's will for me. When I was married to my husband, I was out of God's will. I saw the real side of my husband. This is why the Bible says, do not be unequally yoked. And I just feel led that I need to talk about that right now. Do not be unequally yoked. When you are young and you are considering getting married, do not be unequally yoked. I know that as humans, we go through emotions and we think, oh, we're in love and we want to get married, but you should do exactly what I did not do. I should have sought the Lord. I should have said, Lord, is this who you have for me? Is this the marriage that you have intended for me? Because if I would have done that, if I would have went before the Lord and asked him, Lord, send me confirmation that this is who you want me to marry, he would have sent me confirmation and I would have never married him. That marriage would have never happened. And this is why I'm sharing this with y'all. Because God does not want us to go into a marriage unaware. He wants us to seek His face, to fast and pray and ask Him, Lord, is this the marriage you have for me? I didn't do that. And now I'm suffering the consequences of it. Because remember, when you make decisions, there's consequences that come with those decisions. There are consequences, and you have to live with your decisions. When you're unequally yoked with an unbeliever, you go through things. Listen, I'm speaking to people that you're in the valley of decision and you're trying to decide if you're going to marry this person. My question is, did you seek God first? Did you ask Him, Lord, show me that this is who you have for me to marry? Because I didn't. And you see what happened to my life. You see what happened to my marriage. Because I thought he was a Christian. Honestly, I did. I thought he was a Christian. Whenever I first found out he was a Christian, I was like, oh, wow, Lord, you finally sent me my godly husband that I've been praying for. But listen, whenever you pray for something, the enemy hears those prayers come out of your mouth. And he starts thinking, and I'm telling you, he starts thinking, okay, here's my chance. I'm going to send someone that is that will mimic exactly what God has for this person. And He does. And it takes discernment for you to be able to tell the difference. So, whenever you're praying and asking God to send you a godly husband, make sure that you ask Him, Lord, when you send him to me, show him to me. Give me a vision, give me a dream. Speak to me and say, this is who I have for you. Because the enemy always comes transformed he comes as a light. We have to understand that the enemy is so crafty and so cunning and so deceptive that he will literally make plans against you and send people to you that do not mean good for you. My marriage was not good for me. My marriage put me down on a daily basis. And now I'm having to go through healing from that marriage because of the words that were spoken over me. And that goes back to life and death is in the power of the tongue. Be careful what you speak over your loved ones because even though you regret the words that you speak over them, you can never take those words back because your loved one will constantly be thinking about those bad words that you spoke over them. I deal with this on a daily basis. The Lord is taking me through healing. Right now, He is trying to show me how I look in His eyes. He is trying to take away all those years of words that are spoken over me. And He is healing my heart. And that is why I'm coming on here sharing this with you. Because He wants you to know exactly what I went through. Because so many of you are looking at me like, oh, well, she's going through a divorce. God hates divorce. Yes, God hates divorce. He does hate divorce. You also have to realize that you don't know if God has released that person from that marriage because you don't know the conversation God has with those people. If you see someone and they're a Christian and they're representing God and they're going through a divorce, just know that if you've never been through a divorce is like a death. It is like mourning a death because it's mourning your marriage. It is grieving your marriage because you don't marry someone if you don't love them, right? When you get married, you become one flesh. And whenever you get divorced, that flesh is torn in two. That is a death that you go through whenever you go through a divorce. The emotions that come with that is beyond your wildest dreams. And I do not want to see you go through that if you don't have to. That is why I'm telling you and I'm begging you. If you are young and you are considering who you are going to marry, Or even if you're my age and you're considering remarrying, make sure you take it before the Lord and you say, Lord, is this who you have for me? Don't make the same mistakes I did, y'all. Don't. Because whenever you go through it, it feels like a nightmare. It really does. You think that you can change the person. You think that you can pray their way to God, which you can in some instances. But other instances, you are in a battle between you and your husband. Your husband's an unbeliever. You're a believer. Your husband does not believe in God. You do. There's a constant battle, just like with spiritual warfare. Whenever between our flesh and our spirit, there's a constant battle. And God never intended for us to live in a constant battle with our spouse. That is why He said, do not be unequally yoked. He did not say that to punish us, He said that to protect us. And so many of us, we think we know better than God. We think, oh, I'm in control of my life. When honestly, if you just give control of your life over to God and let Him take the reins, He will give you a life unlike anything you've ever imagined. Because we need to learn how to submit to God. We need to learn, Lord, is this what you have for me? Is this what you have for me? Because you will suffer less if you just bring it to God first before you make a decision. It goes the same with a job, not just marriage. It goes the same with a job. If you ask the Lord to send you a job, the enemy's going to hear that um, prayer, and he's going to prepare a job that's counterfeit to the one that God has for you. And unless you have discernment, you're not going to tell the difference. It's the same with friends. Whenever you pray and ask God to send you friends, the enemy sends friends too. They come transformed into an angel of light. Remember that. You need discernment to be able to tell the difference. You need discernment. Because if you don't have discernment, then you're going to invite people in that are not good for you. Because, like I said, over the past few months, the Lord has removed people from my life, but He has replaced them with so much better. So much better. I have friends that I thought were my friends. I thought they were on my side, but they only meant ill will toward me, and God removed them. And He replaced them with friends that were actually there for me, friends that would pray for me, friends that would be there for me anytime I needed them. So when I tell you, be careful about the decisions that you make. Make sure that you take all decisions before the Lord before you make them. Don't make the same mistake I did with my marriage. Because now I'm suffering the consequences of that. And one thing that comes with consequences is judgment. People judge you before they even know the story. They judge you before they even know what happened. They judge you before they even know the conversations that you and God had behind closed doors. Because I would not be going through this divorce right now if God had not told me that He set me free from this marriage. God never intended for you to be in an abusive marriage. He never intended for you to go through constant abuse, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. He never meant for you to go through any form of abuse in your marriage. Because remember, Jesus said that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. God is not up in heaven sending abusive words to us each and every day. God is not up in heaven abusing us every day. What is He doing? He is sending loving kindness. He is wrapping us in His arms. He is surrounding us with His presence daily. He is speaking beautiful, poetic words to each and every one of us. If only we listen, we will hear what He is saying to us. He is saying, my daughter, my son, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are beautiful in my sight. I love you. You are enough. You are more than enough. What is the enemy saying? You're not enough. You're not good enough. You're ugly. Those are things that are coming from the enemy. If it's good, it's coming from God. If it's bad, it's coming from the enemy. So if you're in a relationship, and I just feel led to talk about this, if you're in a relationship and the person you're with is constantly putting you down, go before the Lord and take that relationship before the Lord and say, Lord, is this what you had for me? Because I guarantee you he will tell you no. Because he does not intend for us to be with someone that's going to tear us down. He wants us to be with someone that's going to build us up. So this is my testimony. The Lord took me from a situation that was very detrimental for my health and my mental health. He took me out of that situation and he gave me peace. Peace beyond my wildest dreams. Peace beyond anything I could ask or think. Peace beyond understanding. And he let me know that my future that is coming, and he's already showed me, my future that is coming is going to be bigger and greater than anything that I could ever think. So remember, if you're in the valley of decision, bring it to God. If you are in the midst of a situation like I was in with my marriage, bring it to God. Don't listen to man, listen to God. God will never fail you. He will always steer you in the right direction. He will lead you, guide you, and direct your steps. Don't listen to man. Trust in God. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. He will give you the desires of your heart, but you have to put him first. You have to put him first. Thank you, everyone, for coming in and spending time with me as I gave you my testimony, as I told you the truth behind what happened in my marriage. I pray you will continue to lift me up. I pray you will continue to pray for me. If you need me, you can always reach out to me in my email. Just know that if it looks perfect, there's something going on behind closed doors that you never know about. So before you judge any situation, think about the situation that the person could be in that is going through it. Like myself. Yes, I'm going through a divorce. Yes, God hates divorce. But when God gives me the permission to leave, and He speaks to me personally that He has closed this door, I'm going to walk into what God has for me. I love y'all, and I pray you have a blessed Saturday. Happy Sabbath day, and I will talk to you soon.